Hello friends, welcome to ReadspireX. How to Be Disciplined by Sheldon Howe is a powerful yet simple self-development book that explains discipline not as a harsh rule or punishment, but as the most practical life skill that separates ordinary lives from extraordinary results. And the book begins by breaking one of the biggest myths people believe, that discipline is something you are born with, because according to the author, discipline is a learnable skill, just like reading, driving, or using a smartphone, and anyone, regardless of background, intelligence, or motivation level, can build discipline if they understand how it actually works. Sheldon Howe explains that most people fail in life not because they lack talent, ideas, or dreams, but because they lack the ability to do small, necessary actions consistently. And he uses a very relatable analogy of a bridge. Dreams are on one side, success is on the other, and discipline is the bridge that connects them, because without discipline, dreams remain just thoughts in the mind. In the early chapters, the author redefines discipline as self-respect for your future self, meaning whenever you wake up early, exercise, study, work, or say no to distractions, you are not suffering. You are simply choosing a better future over momentary comfort. And this mindset shift is extremely important for beginners because it removes the fear and negativity associated with discipline. Sheldon Howe then destroys the idea that motivation is the key to success, explaining that motivation is emotional and temporary. It comes and goes like weather, while discipline is structural and reliable, like gravity. And he gives an example of going to work every day even when you don't feel motivated, showing that your life already runs on discipline without you realizing it. The book strongly emphasizes that successful people do not rely on willpower because willpower is limited, but instead they create systems and habits that make discipline automatic, such as fixed routines, clear rules, and predictable schedules. And an excellent analogy used is traffic signals. Drivers don't negotiate with signals based on mood, they follow them automatically. And discipline should work the same way in life. As the book progresses, a major focus is placed on habits, where Sheldon Howe explains that habits are the building blocks of discipline, and your entire identity is shaped by what you repeatedly do, whether good or bad. And he illustrates this with the story of two people, one who reads 10 pages daily and another who never reads, showing how after 1 year the difference in knowledge, confidence, and opportunities between them becomes massive, even though the daily effort seemed insignificant. The author explains that beginners often fail because they start too big, extreme diets, long study hours, intense workouts, but discipline grows faster when you start small and stay consistent, such as exercising for 5 minutes or writing 1 paragraph a day, because consistency trains your brain to trust you, and once self-trust is built, discipline becomes natural. A powerful section of the book addresses procrastination, where Sheldon Howe clarifies that procrastination is not laziness, but fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of imperfection, and this fear paralyzes action. So the solution is not pressure, but lowering the starting barrier, using the rule "start ugly," meaning begin before you feel ready. And an example is given of a content creator who waited months for perfect equipment versus another who started with a basic phone and built a successful channel. Environment design is another core principle in the book, where the author explains that your surroundings control your behavior more than your intentions. So discipline becomes easier when you remove temptations and make good behaviors obvious, such as keeping junk food out of the house if you want to eat healthy, or placing books on your desk instead of your phone. And this concept is extremely practical because it removes the emotional struggle from discipline. Sheldon Howe then discusses time management, explaining that time management is actually priority management, because everyone has the same 24 hours, but disciplined people decide in advance what matters most and protect time for it, using examples like waking up early to complete important work before distractions begin. And he highlights that disciplined people do not fill their day with random tasks, but structure their day around their goals. A deeply insightful chapter focuses on identity, where the author explains that lasting discipline comes from changing how you see yourself, not from forcing behavior. Because when you identify as a disciplined person, your actions automatically align with that identity. Similar to how a vegetarian doesn't need willpower to refuse meat, they simply don't identify with it. So the book encourages readers to start saying, "I am disciplined," and reinforce it through small actions. The book also addresses comfort zones and pain, explaining that life always contains pain, but you must choose between the pain of discipline now or the pain of regret later. And Sheldon Howe uses emotional storytelling to show how short-term comfort leads to long-term suffering, while short-term effort leads to long-term freedom. Consistency is highlighted as more important than intensity, with the golden rule, never miss twice, meaning failure is human, but repeating failure is a choice. And this realistic approach makes discipline sustainable for beginners. The later chapters focus on maintaining discipline long-term through tracking progress, rewarding effort, reflecting regularly, and practicing self-compassion instead of self-hatred, because guilt destroys discipline while responsibility strengthens it. The author makes it clear that discipline is not about becoming perfect, robotic, or emotionless, but about building a life where your actions align with your goals and values. Throughout the book, Sheldon Howe repeatedly reinforces that discipline is freedom. Freedom from chaos, stress, regret, and self-doubt, and that every small disciplined action compounds over time like interest in a bank account, slowly but powerfully transforming your life. The overall message of how to be disciplined is deeply empowering. You don't need talent, luck, or extraordinary motivation to succeed. You need daily discipline, simple systems, and patience. And if you master discipline, you gain control over your time, habits, and future, making this book an ideal guide for anyone who feels stuck, distracted, or overwhelmed and wants to build a focused, successful, and meaningful life through consistent action. If this video gave you a new way to think, don't let it stop here. Like, subscribe, and join ReadspireX.